Good evening, John O'Flaherty, the B3 Burner, and I'm back. This time I had a request to demonstrate how to set up a split screen for the purposes of videotaping a video game. Split screens are unique. They're a little time consuming to set up, but once you figure out your program, you speed up and you get better each time you do it. I should also note that split screens can be valuable for displaying pictures or video where you don't mind squeezing them down to a fourth of the screen, kind of like a Zoom meeting, if size is not important, but you want to get as much on the screen as possible at the same time. It's a good thing. It doesn't have to be video games, but in the case of video game, we're going to be using BeamNG drive. That's where my requests came from, one of those videos. And it's specifically for capturing the same action that's occurring simultaneously, but from different angles. So we're going to jump into this, and for purposes of this demonstration, I am using Vegas Movie Studio, and my screen recorder is Bandicam, just so that you know who the players are. And you can look those up on the internet and find out more about them if you're interested. And then the game will be using, like I said earlier, is BeamNG drive. Now, in the interest of brevity and speeding things along, I have already set up our material that we're going to be looking at. I've taken 4 channels of text for titles: text 1, text 2, text 3, text 4. Normally you would have text as the first channel, video as your second channel, audio or music as your third channel, and fourth you could make narration if you want to talk over video. Instead, we made it 4 text channels, and you can see we have 4 titles. A title is what you use to create a title page, like introducing a video, or if you want to put subtitles in the middle of the video, you would open up a screen like this, Vegas titles and text. And I just put a big number 1 and a gray background. So we have a gray 1, a red 2, a blue 3, and a green 4. Now, my screen resolution that I'm using is 1920 by 1080. It might vary for you. And right now, each of my titles take up the entire 1920 by 1080. Eventually, we're going to want to squeeze them into fourths. The rule with video editing is that whichever channel is on top gets the pick. So you don't see 2 unless you pull down or remove 1's opacity. Okay. And we have to pull down 2 to see 3, and we have to pull down 3 to see 4. And if we pull down 4, we'd have a black screen because nothing is open. So you see how that works? Now, the idea is to see all 4 of them at the same time, not to have 1 cover up 2, 3, and 4. I might also add that these title pages are set up in parallel. They're occurring simultaneously, but you can only see the top 1. I could have also set them up in series like this. I'll move 4 over here, in which case if we played it through, each one is 5 seconds long, minus the fact that we don't have any nice fancy dissolves. Then you see each one, but you only see it alone. And as I say, we don't want that. So I'll again put them in parallel and take them out of series. And there you go. Okay, so how do we change that? How do we set up a split screen? Again, it's going to vary depending upon your editor. So you're going to have to read the instructions on your editor. but for purposes of a Vegas movie studio, you click on this thing that looks like two opposite right angles next to the film strip, the icon in the middle, and you get something that looks like this. Now we zoom back. F stands for frame. At least that's what I think it stands for. If that's a lucky guess, so be it, but it would make sense. And this border, this black and white border, this pattern that's in a rectangle represents everything we see in a 16:9 ratio on a 1920 by 1080 screen. If we wanted to rotate this, we could set up a rotation feature, but we don't want to do all that. You may think that if we want to make this 1/4 the size, an area of 2 multiplied by an area of 2, 2 horizontal by 2 vertical, gives us an area of 4 square units. So you might think that we'd actually want to shrink this by dividing by 2, so that our 1920 by 1080 actually becomes a 960 by 540. Actually, everything's the opposite. We actually want to multiply the total size of our frame by 2 to get a 3840 by 2160, which is 1920 doubled and 1080 doubled, and keep each frame 1920 by 1080. So I will set up the first one here, and I want to put 1 in the upper left hand corner. So first I want to take, we're not dealing with rotation or keyframe interpolation or source or workspace. We're only dealing with position. Thank goodness, because this is a little bit confusing enough. So we want to double the 1920 and make it a 3840. Notice that when I did that, the height automatically doubled to a 2160 because it knows I'm working in a 16:9 ratio, and it knows to lock in the given screen resolution. So I doubled the width value or the X value, and it knew to double the height or the Y value. So now we have 3840 by 2160. Here's the next thing, and this is a little bit confusing, but you got to kind of think in reverse. X center 960 by Y center 540. They're basically talking about this center peg on this diagram, and that is basically what coordinates of your 1920 by 1080 square do you have to dial in to get that portion or that coordinate in the dead center of this F frame. Now, to put it in perspective, this is what's 3840. This here is what's 2160. The gray one is still only 1920 by 1080, and because we doubled the feature of the frame, the resolution of the frame, it just sits dead center. But we don't want it dead center. What we're going to want is we're going to want 1 in the upper left hand corner, 2 in the upper right hand corner, 3 in the lower left hand corner, 4 in the lower right hand corner. And only then do we wind up with a quad split screen, and then we can insert video, which we'll do later. Now, for purposes of this, you have to ask yourself, what is it I have to do to put the lower right hand corner of the gray square over here in order to put the rest of the square in the upper left-hand corner. That's what you're really asking yourself. You want this first square, the number one square, to go from here to here to here to here. So that means that this center peg or center circle is going to have to be occupied by this corner. So if we know that this is 1920 by 1080, then our coordinates to get to the lower right hand corner is 1920 across by 1080 down, because the origin, the 0, 0 mark, is up here in the upper left hand corner. So now that we know that, we can type in center 1920 for X, and notice that it didn't jump to the side. The frame marker and the pattern diagram with all the dashes jumped to the right. But it's the same thing, relatively speaking. Now we're going to make the 540 1080. And now I'm going to back out, and you can see by the diagram that the frame is still divided into fourths, only now the lower right hand corner of number 1 is touching the center circle, the center peg, and everything that's the number 1 frame is now in the upper left hand corner, taking up only 1/4 of the space. What does it look like when we look at it over here? It looks like this. And remember that 2, 3, and 4 still take up full frames. We'll fix them in a bit. But 1 only takes up 1/4, like we set it up for. 2 will eventually take up this corner, 3 will eventually take up this corner, and 4 will take up this corner. We will get to that momentarily. Now it's number 2's turn. So we hit the event pan crop symbol in the center. And now we do the same thing for number 2, only we're going to put number 2 in the upper right hand corner. So let me back up a little bit. Right now it takes up the whole thing. First thing we're going to want to do is double the width and height. 1920 multiplied by 2 is 3840. And remember, if you're working with a different resolution, you're going to be multiplying and or dividing by different numbers. So it puts it dead center because it multiplied the frame by 2. And by doing that, it's as though we shrunk the number 2 rectangle down to 960 by 540. You basically achieved the opposite by making the pattern frame bigger, and you can see we got 2 in the center. Well, we don't want 2 in the center, we want it in the upper right hand corner. So now we have to look, in order to be in the upper right hand corner, we now need the lower left corner of the square to be dead center. How do we do that? Well, X is going to have a value of 0 so long as this edge is centered on the peg, and Y is going to have a full value of 1080 in order to be all the way down there. So we're going to go 0, enter, and that puts it on the side. Now we need it to go up by 1080 for the Y value. And that went, if I back up and move it in the center, there you go. X has a value of 0, Y has a value of 1080. Good, we're done. And now 1 and 2 are framed upper left and upper right hand corner respectively. 3 still takes up the whole thing and is half blocked in the top, as is number 4. So we're halfway there. Now let's work on number 3. As I say, the process gets quicker and more streamlined the more you do it. You just kind of have to think about the end game and what it is you're trying to accomplish to begin with. 3 takes up the whole thing, but we're going to change that by doubling 1920 once again to 3840. 38, make sure I typed it in right. Felt like I almost hit the 9 key. 3840. And it's centered right now. Why it centers is because we basically told the overall screen to double, and this leaves it centered. Is double the space on this side here. Let me move this out of the way, and then double the space here and here. But we don't want it dead center. We want it to the lower left. And I can't demonstrate that. Well, I guess I can. We'll put it down over here. Now I want the upper right. If I want to move this to the lower left hand corner of the screen, that means I want the upper right hand corner of the rectangle to be top dead center. So now I want the X value to be full out its total value, 1920. 1920, and we're halfway there. The vertical Y, I don't want having any value. I don't want it slipping down at all. I want this corner on the center, which means I need that to stay 0. So we'll turn the 540 to 0. And now relative to the frame in box, if you look at the squares, and luckily they're easily denoted, 3 is now in the lower left hand corner. And look at that. The only one we have left to do is number 4. Like a broken record, we repeat ourselves, but repetition is the key to learning how to do this on your own. So it's good that we're going through this each step of the way. 1920 by 1080 resolution. Once again, we want to double the screen size so that these 1920 by 1080s can take up only a fourth. 1920 multiplied by 2 is 3840. And let me again remind you that once you adjust the width, the height automatically adjusts to 2160, which is double 1080. Now we want 4 in the lower right hand corner, and this is an easy one. This is the origin of the XY axis in the upper left hand corner. So in order to create that, all we have to do is go 0 for X and 0 for Y, and we're there, right? And it's in the lower right hand corner. Hey, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, each one taking up a fourth of the way. And now if I opaque them, each one turns black on its own, but none of them are blocked by any other one. 1 is still above 2, which is above 3, which is above 4. But the difference is they don't block each other anymore. They each have their own space. So it doesn't matter which one is above or below the other. Now I can still stagger these if I want. And we're going to take this and go like that. And I'm going to pull it through 1, 2, 3, 4. Or maybe I want a partial stagger. I will make this, what's half of, I guess, 215. This isn't the most important part of it. I'm just showing what you can do by staggering it. 1, 2 comes on. Then as 1 disappears, 3 comes on, And as 3 disappears, as 2 disappears, 4 comes on, it's just 4, 3. Then 3 disappears, and then 4 is by itself. See? Just run you through it real fast. So that is how you set up a split screen on Vegas Movie Studio. If that's all you care about, to set up split screens, and you're good enough with that, then you could probably stop watching this video now. Then look at your editor, if it's something other than Vegas Movie Studio, and apply the same concept based on yours. And you might have to go the opposite way and divide by 2 instead of multiplying by 2 your resolution values to mess around with your frames and turn them into quarter frames. But the concept is the same. You basically want to take what's a full image that takes up this whole screen and make it a quarter frame. Okay, so that's it for the basic in-editor sample of how to set up split screen, quad split screen using title cards or title text. Next, we'll open up BeamNG and I'll show you how to stage an event, film it, show it from different angles, and we're going to put different angles into each split screen. Now that we're done with the title cards, it's time to change things up a little bit to prepare for video. We named them Text 1, Text 2, Text 3, and Text 4. But now what we want to do is change the name to Video 1, Video 2. I could have probably skipped all this part and not shown you, but yeah, what the heck. Video 3 and Video 4. Now, our game play is also going to have audio. When the cars move or hit something or crash into each other, you're going to hear the sound. So we're going to want to add second tracks, audio tracks for each video track. So we're going to add an audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, and audio 4. Insert audio track. There we go. And I'm going to call that audio 1. And it's going to be moved up there. Insert audio track. And that's going to be called audio 2. And you can mouse click, left click, and drag. Wherever you see the heavy white line is what it's going to put it between. And that became track 4. And now it becomes a little bit confusing because video 1 is channel 1, but video 2 is now channel 3. All right. Well, there you go. Insert audio track. Track 7 is now orange. And that's going to be for audio 3. And then finally, audio 4. Black. Audio 4. Look how much room that takes up. I seldom ever use 8 tracks. Okay, so there you go. With that, we're going to open the game. Before we close this out, this is currently saved as Split Screen Demo Volume Version 2. We're going to want to put this off to the side while we open the game. So let's just remind ourselves that we want to save it as a new project, save as, and all we're going to do is it's still a split screen demo, but we're just going to change the name from version 2 to version 3. Save. And you can see up here it changed to V3 as well. And we may as well exit out. We don't need it right now. Where is it? It's sitting in the Movie Studio Platinum Projects under Split Screen Demo, the first version, Split Screen Demo 2, and then version 3. and it can just sit on the side. Bandicam is recording right now. You can see it, and then my Bandicam files, which I will later import into the editor. There it is, right there. These are all the recordings we've made with my voiceover right here, my narration. We'll get back to that later as well. But what's important right now is now we're going to open up the game BeamNG drive, and we're going to stage an accident. How dramatic should we make it? How about a cement truck into the back of a bolide? Bolide's a rear-engine car. As you catch on fire, be spectacular entertainment and show. We'll use the East Coast USA map. We'll set things up kind of near the highway. The bus stop pole is rock solid in the game. Don't ask me why. Bus stop poles in real life would snap off like a twig if a car hit it, but in this case not. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to stage our accident, and we want to change vehicles. So we want to use this Civita bolide, rear engine car. We'll just pick a standard one, replace current. Let's see, Shift C. Let's just get it right in front of the bus stop pole. F7. There we go. That's where I want it. Nosed right up into it. Neutral and off. Okay. So the bolide is staged. And then we want to go up the road. And we want to spawn a cement truck. And the cement truck's going to slam into the rear of the bolide. And if it ruptures the gas tank, it'll catch on fire. So that should be interesting. I'd say that's far enough back. Escape, vehicle. Gavril T-Series. And I'm looking for the cement truck. There it is. T75 cement mixer upfit. Spawn new. There he is. And now we're going to record the action. Let's enable full screen, so that it's actually 1920 by 1080. There we go. We're going to stop now, and then we're going to hit record and play, and I'll show you how to do that, and we're going to ram the truck into the car. Alright, every time I hit record and then stop, it kills my full screen, so I've learned something new. Full screen. Apply settings, and there we go. We're going to hit Alt-R, which records the proceedings. Now here we go, Alt-R, here goes nothing. Well, it wasn't enough to set it on flames, but it certainly was enough to wreck it. So now we're done. We'll hit Alt-R. Well, I only got up to like 25 miles an hour. I just didn't get going fast enough. So now that we're done, we can survey the damage, and there's quite a bit of it. Basically got wrapped around that pole. Now what we want to do is take several different recordings. Now what we want to do is rewind the recordings I'm stuck back at the windowed mode. Let's open her up to full screen, apply settings. After a while, you know just what to do to make this happen. I tend to not describe what I'm doing. It's second nature. Hit escape, hit the replay button, and I have one item for June 14th, 2021 at 9:58 p.m. East Coast, USA, 30.8 megabytes. So I can record this. And we'll get a recording from inside the truck. And that'll be one recording. Now we want it from the other car's perspective, looking this way. But further away. Okay. Okay, pretty good. I'll take it. Next, I want an above ground view from the truck's perspective. Okay, I forget how many views I've gotten so far, but I think the last one I want is a relative view inside the bolide. There we go. Looking through the louvered slats under the engine. Okay, normally you wouldn't talk over this because it's going to pick up all my talking. I forgot about that, so don't talk when you do yours. And there you go. So we're done with that. We can stop it altogether. We're looking at it from the car's point of view. Hit tab. Now we're looking at it from the truck's point of view. So I got all four of my views. Now we can turn off the game. Well, this may be the hardest part simply because I'm going to be recording myself while I'm editing, and I don't know how that works, how that's going to work. Never done it before. But everything I've recorded on Bandicam, including what we're recording right this second, is in this menu. This PC documents Bandicam. And this item here that's highlighted in gray that was 6 minutes and 3 seconds long, that was the section with the crashes that we recorded. We're going to have to take that, let me put it back over here out of view, and load that into split screen demo number 3. This over here. So let me move it out of the way and then key it up. And we're opening Movie Studio again, Vegas. And there are our items, complete with our video, our 4 video and 4 audio tracks each for a total of 8 tracks. And our little square thingies. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to take the Bandicam recording dated June 14th, 2021 at 10:01 p.m. That was 6 minutes and 3 seconds long, and drag it with the mouse over to here. And there we go. See, there's a little cement truck, right? So that tells us it's the right one. Now what we're going to do, so we may as well start off by putting the whole thing in video 1, right? Do you want to set your project video settings to match this media? You better do that. And it's set to 30. Oh, good. Now the whole thing is 6 minutes long, but remember, in here is 4 different views, so we're going to want to splice the first view and keep it in video 1, splice the second view and keep it in video 2, splice the third view and put it in video 3, and splice the 4th view and put it in video 4. How do we know which is which? We don't yet. We're going to have to play it back and see. Now what we want to do is rewind the recordings. I'm stuck back at the windowed mode. Now that's me talking. Let's open her up to full screen, apply settings during the playback. So after a while you know just what to do to make this happen. I tend to not describe what I'm doing. It's second nature. So we don't want to get all this. Hit escape, hit the replay button, and I have one item for June 14th. It's hard to tell which of me is in the past tense and which of me is in the present tense because they're only 26 minutes apart and I sound the same. 2021 at 9:58 p.m. East Coast, USA, 30.8 megabytes. So we're not going to need all this here. We can edit that out. So let me pull this up further and we'll get a record. All right. So we want to start from about there. Oh, good. We can use the sound of the releasing the emergency brake as we're going to need some sound cue to sync all the audio tracks together so that everything occurs simultaneously. All right. So what I'm going to do, that's 110.26. Oh no. There we go. So what you want to do is you want to splice and get rid of this. Oh no. Let's turn this off. No. Let's turn that off. Delete. There we go. So here comes the first one. And we'll get a recording from inside the truck. We can jump ahead. And that'll be one recording. I'll stop it right there. Well, here, let's stop it here. You can see it's having a really hard time. All right, that's good. So this will be one section of recording. That'll be track 1. Congratulations, we've just made our first track. Now, track 2. We got to set it up. And that'll be one recording. Yeah, that's as good a place as any to split it. 3:10:26. Notice I'm looking at the time to make sure that it splits where I want it to. 3:10:26 and split. And I don't want any of this in the middle that's wasting time. All right. I'm going to move this up over here. And all this I'm going to play back. Good enough. Split. We're golden. Well, sort of. So this is a perfect example of what can happen if you're not counting your recording angles. I think I only got 3 of them, or I accidentally erased. Luckily, this editor allows you to pull and drag to get back whatever you deleted, so it's not lost forever. There we go. Looking through the louvered slats under the engine. Okay, normally you wouldn't talk over this because it's going to pick up all my talking. I forgot about that, so don't talk when you do yours. Good enough. Split. And we're done. But we still have to find the 4th one. Remember the one from the bolide's perspective that got kicked into the flowers? So we lost that. We don't need this. This is extra. Then we can stop. Okay. Delete. Okay, so pull this away, pull this away. We missed one. So there's something magic about this. You can pull this back and get everything from how it started. What about here? I know I missed something. This way. There we go. But further away. There we go. That's the one I missed. I want it from the other car's perspective. Looking this way. That's what I missed. So I can read. Alright. Delete. But further away. Okay. Good enough. Split. Okay, pretty good. All right, there we go. Now we have 4 of them. Now that we have 4 cuts from different angles, now we can do our work. Cut number 1 goes up against the title one. Cut number 2, there we go. For video 3, there we go. Control Shift U. That's the only way to separate the audio out from the video, and that's going to be important in case it's out of sync. You don't want the sound of the crash happening before the crash itself, and that may happen with some of the tracks. So we have to be careful. Pressing on this allows me to drag everything at once versus not. 2, 3, 4, and now you can see they're all lined up. Oh no, you know what? Okay, I just learned something else. Just because the title tracks are quartered off doesn't mean that the video is quartered off. So everything we did before we're going to have to do over again. So unfortunately, I didn't know that once you introduced new media that you would lose the 4 square effect that was in the title numbers. You can see that we have the problem where 1 is covering up number 2, etc., etc. So let me just we've already gone through this once, but we need to, I'm not going to describe it other than plug in the numbers. 3840 by 2160, 1920 by 1080, 1920 by 1080. Puts it in the upper left-hand corner, as you can see over there. Track number 2, 3840. I should have that memorized by now, you know what I mean? By 2160, 0 by 1080, 0 by 1080. And there it is in the upper right. Close it out. Okay, number 3. Again, 3840, 2160, 1920 by 0, 1920 by 0. And there's the third one. 1, 2, 3. And now finally we need to shrink the 4th. That is the 4th, but it's taking up this whole space, and 3/4 of it's behind here. So let's now fix it up. And again, 3840 by 2160, 0, 0, 0, 0. There. Okay. There's your split screen. That's what you wanted. That's what you were looking for. Now, if it's done right, all these should be synced. Syncing is quite difficult. If you play it through, first of all, you'll notice, and we'll get a recording from inside the truck, but further away. You'll notice that we're like down to 3 frames a minute. 3 frames a second. Looking through the louvered slats on the engine. Okay, normally you wouldn't talk over this because it's going to pick up what we're talking. I forgot about that, so I'm going to talk. You'll notice that the sound of the crashes did not all occur at the same exact moment because they were not properly synced. Now these are the audio signatures of the crash right here. There's several ways we could handle it. We could try to push this and this forward to here. We'd have to drag that out. Tell you what, it gets a little bit well, that's not what I wanted to do. Bring that out to there. Bring that out to about there. You're getting the idea of what I'm trying to do. I have to hold down Control while I click these because remember I separated the audio from the video, and they're going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Separate themselves if you're not careful. Come on. It's kind of caught in no man's land. There we go. Close enough. There we go. See how they're a little bit more lined up under each other? Let's play it back and hear how it sounds. I forgot about that, so I'll talk. Not perfect, but better. And you notice that we had a real slideshow going on because the CPU and the GPU couldn't allow us to play this any quicker. But don't worry, when we publish it, it will publish at proper timing. So what we'll do is make this a little bit bigger, kind of see what's going on. Let's make it at least preview full, so it's at least somewhat better quality. There we go. And we'll get a recording from inside the truck, looking through the wooden slats under the engine. Oh, that's the other thing I was saying. The speedometer should match each other. This is at 9 miles an hour. This is at, oh, I can't read that. Oh, now they're both, notice they're all at 17. That means we did a pretty good job of syncing it if the speedometers in all 4 examples are reading the same number of miles per hour. That's another hint of what to look for if you're going to sync multiple angled video in a split screen. Okay, normally we don't talk about this because when we go to finalize this, I'll show you what it looks like. So if all goes well, it should look and sound like this. And we'll get a recording from inside the truck, looking through the wooden slats under the engine. Okay, normally we don't talk about this because it's going to be I forgot about that, so I'll talk. There you go. They're synced so well that it sounds like one sound even though there's 4 audio tracks, because each track is lined up perfectly. Too bad the playback isn't perfect in the rough draft, but I'm going to finalize this and show you what it looks like, the final thing. And if all is done right, it should look like this. And we'll get a recording from inside the truck, looking through the little slats under the engine. And there you go, that's your split screen. And what I'll do is I'll put a copy of that, of the event proper, the actual file. Here we go. I just played it back through the video recorder, but I'll put it actually out on the final product in its entirety as its own file. And finally, here's the completed MP4 video file loaded directly into the editor so you can see it in its final total form. And we'll get a recording from inside the truck, looking through the little slats under the engine. And that basically is how you do a split screen and then film a crash from 4 different angles in BeamNG. But remember, split screen can be used for a lot of other reasons beside that. That's just one possible use. So with that, I bid you adieu and I say thanks for watching. I'm B3 Burner and you have a good night.